I can't honestly say that Ferrari is my favorite brand of car, but I was very glad that they won this 2023 24 Hours of Le Mans. It is nice to see them there again, and it's also pleasing to see that the car is looking quite nice, which is not something I can say for the new Formula 1 cars. I really did enjoy painting this painting, and as usual the color is red. For this red I had to mix or blend a little bit of yellow into the rose to give it a more yellowish kind of red, or closer to orange but not too close. Painting these modern sports cars or racing cars can get a little bit more difficult. It's a lot more work because there's so much more detail in these cars. They have all these fins and antennas and tiny little sponsors or decals or signage on them, whatever you want to call that. And if you don't have a large surface that you paint one color, and you have all these little tiny intricate surfaces and details, then the work starts to get a lot more. And it's also more difficult, especially with the watercolors. You have to wait until certain areas are dry before you can do the next step. Otherwise the paint will blend, which you will see happens a lot with me. And sometimes you have to remove mistakes again. Another challenging aspect of painting these modern racing cars is the carbon fiber. To get the carbon fiber look is very close to impossible. So what you do is you resort to at least paint more or less the color of the carbon fiber and make it look reflective a bit. And you must also have a look out for the kind of carbon fiber, because sometimes there are some other materials woven into it if it's bare carbon fiber. So it's not always just black or the charcoal color. It can sometimes have a little bit of a yellowish sheen to it, if you will. And then also for a car like this, you need to bring in the sky or something in the reflection. So I added a little bit of blue in those, just to break the red. And then also again working from photos. There's a lot of details that I can't find or can't see. Even though these new modern cars are very well photographed and published, you still paint parts and then afterwards you think, no, that's not right, and then you go look in the photos again, and then only do you find another photo that shows that part and you find out that you were wrong, which is not a very nice feeling, but it happens, and at least you can be thankful that you had the opportunity to correct a mistake. But at the end of the day, you will not be able to paint a flawless painting, at least not if you do it in an acceptable time span and at this scale with this kind of paint on this paper. There will be flaws, and Like an art teacher told me when I was in school, the flaws are sometimes the character of the painting, and sometimes the paintings are basically identified by some of their flaws. So it may even be beneficial someday when someone tries to forge one of these paintings and they do it too perfect and they forget to make the same mistakes that the artist made, then that can also help. But that's not why we do it. We do it because we are human. We try to do it as good as we can, and if it is perfect, that would be nice, but mine are never perfect, not according to me. I have to use a few layers of red. Well, most of the paints I have to use a few layers. When the paper soaks up the paint, it kind of gets sealed, and the first layer is usually dull. Then when I add the second layer, the color comes out a bit better, more solid, and then by the third time it looks the way it should look. Sometimes you're lucky, then you can have one layer, other times maybe 10 times is a charm. As you guys probably know by now, I really do like the background-less painting. No background, no foreground, there's something for the car to stand on, because I love to look at the car shape and everything, its proportions and its colors and textures and reflections, and the background can sometimes disguise some of the car's features. But some people do want the background, and often I wonder, maybe I should. You always have this little thing in the back of your head messing with you. You know, on the one side you want to be yourself, you make the painting the way you would have wanted it, because you're the artist, and people who appreciate the way you look at things in life will then buy that. And then sometimes you get tempted and you're thinking, well, maybe I should give the collectors something that they want. I don't think it's healthy to think about things like that. I don't believe it is. At this part I'm blending the windscreen. The windscreen at the end has to fade out and even have some shine to it, which is difficult because with shiny parts that has to be the lightest part of the painting, or at least the car. And if the car is on a white background, then that gets very difficult to show. I have thought of darkening the whole painting to help bring out shiny bits. In this painting, for example, the lights are switched on the photo, and I'm trying very hard to make those lights in the front seem to be on. So they have to be the only white parts, and they cannot be completely white because the lights usually have a kind of color to them. If it's LED lights, there must be some kind of bluish, but so subtle that you can almost not see it. You must just suggest that there's some kind of blueness to it. And then on halogen lights, those are yellow, so those are easy. With these new cars, things like lights and effects like those get more and more difficult, and they're less and less picturesque. they're less pretty to look at. Those lights are awesome when you're the driver who races with that car and you're driving at night and it's like a daylight in front of you. That's so wonderful, but to make that car look good on a painting is a whole different story. A more challenging story. It is fun to try it, and I do enjoy it when I do get it right. Not sure if I got it right this time. This photo that I used for reference was difficult because the car was actually driving in the daytime with its lights on, so you can't really get that effect properly, so you have to try and play around with the tones. Another thing that's very difficult with these modern cars is the black rims, the wheels, everything is black. So to make something of that in a painting, to make it look pretty, to give your audience details to look on and reflections and things like that, is getting more and more difficult, especially with the new Formula 1 cars. I don't know why they do it. I suspect that they do a lot of the black parts. They leave the carbon because it kind of disguises the car's shape and its features, which will make it more difficult for other teams to copy the design. At least that's what I would have done if I was a Formula 1 constructor. And then there's also the fashion. It's fashionable these days to have carbon fiber parts on your cars. People like that. It's a crowd pleaser. And in motorsports you have to please the crowds, because if they stop looking at the racing, the money dries up and the industry dies, and the car designers and racing drivers and those guys cannot follow their dreams anymore. So you have to cater for the audience, just like an artist has to. There's not much technical I can say about this painting. The most difficult part is to make sense of all those fins, especially on the roof. That's quite difficult. And to get the lights to look like lights. And you have to play with contrast. That's basically the way to do it. On the upright fin that holds the rear wing in the middle, I've made a reflection to help with the carbon fiber, the polished look. I'm making the windscreen a little bit more darker, fixing the rear wheel again, and when I'm ready I'm going to paint it upside down again, just to see if the wheels are correct. Adding a little bit more red now to highlight the redness, give it a deeper feeling, make it look more glossy. The car was already a bit dirty from all the racing when this photo was taken, which gives you less reflection reference or detailing as far as the glossiness of the paint of the car is, and that can make it a bit difficult. I turned the painting around to have a look at the wheels to get them round. The rear wheel was wrong. There was an area at the back part of the wheel that had a flat spot on it. So I fixed that and also looked at the rest of the car. When you look at it upside down, mistakes kind of stand out better and it's easier to spot them. Now this here is a trick that I learned from YouTube from an artist who showed that if you heat up the masking tape with a hairdryer, when you pull it off, then it will not damage the paper because the glue from on the masking tape softens and it's easier to peel off and it doesn't tear your paper anymore. I had to learn this because we don't get painter's tape where I live. We only get masking tape. This works really very well, and it doesn't leave anything behind on the paper. All the glue comes off and no paper is torn. So this is it. This is my Ferrari from 2023. I hope you like it. I enjoyed painting it. Please like and subscribe and share and keep well.